You're just a disgusting loser!
Sometimes the only way to discover how someone sees ordinary people is to become ordinary in their eyes. You actually thought I could fall in love with a janitor? Vanessa Crowley's voice carried across the crowded company cafeteria. Conversation stopped. Caleb Voss stood across from her in a faded maintenance uniform, one hand resting on the cleaning cart beside him. Vanessa stared at him as though his confession had offended her. I smiled at you. I talked to you. That doesn't mean I want you. A few employees exchanged uncomfortable looks. Then Vanessa laughed. Look at me, Caleb. Then look at yourself. You clean floors for a living. Did you honestly think a woman like me would choose a disgusting loser like you? Someone at the back laughed. Caleb didn't. He reached into his pocket, looked briefly at something hidden in his hand, then put it away. Thank you, Vanessa. Her smile faltered. For humiliating you. No. For answering the one question I couldn't ask you. Caleb turned and walked out. Minutes later, another employee found him sitting alone in a quiet hallway. She didn't know what was inside his pocket or why he had thanked Vanessa. She simply sat beside him, handed him a cup of water and said, "You didn't deserve that." Her name was Maya Ellison, a 27-year-old payroll operations associate who had never spoken to Caleb for more than a few minutes at a time. She didn't insult Vanessa. She didn't promise everything would be fine. She simply stayed. Maya believed she was comforting a humiliated janitor. What she couldn't know was that the humiliation had begun with a decision Caleb made 4 weeks earlier, and that before it was over, Vanessa wouldn't be the only person forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. If you enjoy powerful stories where betrayal meets unforgettable justice, subscribe to Luxury Justice Stories. Now, let's continue. At 30, Caleb Voss had enough money to make almost any part of life easier, and enough experience to know that money could make love harder to understand. He was the founder and majority owner of Voss Meridian Group, but he had deliberately kept a low public profile as the company expanded. His name was familiar throughout the organization. His face was not. Outside senior leadership and a limited circle of employees at headquarters, many people knew Caleb Voss only from internal announcements they barely studied and business coverage they rarely followed. 2 serious relationships had changed after women learned how much his name was worth. What frightened him was subtler: he no longer trusted his own judgment. Was someone interested in him, or in the life attached to him? Was affection genuine before the private flights and invitations appeared, or did he only notice the difference afterward? Then he noticed Vanessa Crowley. At 28, Vanessa was one of Voss Meridian's rising senior brand strategy managers. She was polished, ambitious and excellent under pressure. Caleb once watched her rescue a difficult client presentation without humiliating the junior employee who had caused the problem. Another evening, she stayed late helping a colleague finish work that would earn Vanessa no credit. Then he noticed a contradiction. Vanessa seemed to know every important executive by name, yet barely acknowledged some of the people who cleaned offices, delivered supplies, or served meals. Caleb wondered whether old disappointments were making him suspicious of someone who had done nothing seriously wrong. He could have introduced himself honestly and accepted the uncertainty. Instead, he made the decision that set everything in motion. For what was supposed to be only a few days, Caleb entered one of Voss Meridian's largest operational offices as a temporary janitorial worker. Only 2 trusted senior people knew the arrangement. His suits and expensive watch disappeared. A faded maintenance uniform and a plain temporary badge replaced them. He kept one executive access card hidden in his pocket in case an emergency required him to reveal himself. Caleb told himself he only wanted Vanessa to meet him without knowing what his name could provide. But there was no honest way around what he was doing. He was trying to discover the truth about someone else while hiding the truth about himself. Their first real encounter almost convinced him the disguise had been unnecessary. Vanessa dropped several presentation materials near a hallway as Caleb passed with his cleaning cart. He helped gather them. "Thank you, Caleb," she said after glancing at his badge. Soon brief exchanges became conversations. Vanessa asked about his morning, joked about the terrible coffee and sometimes lingered when nobody else was nearby. Caleb saw real warmth in her expression. Then an influential manager approached during one of those conversations. Vanessa's posture changed immediately. She became formal, stepped away and addressed Caleb as though he had only been helping with a spill. Another afternoon, a coworker caught them laughing together and teased, "Vanessa, do you have a thing for the janitor?" "Please," Vanessa answered. The word was casual. The embarrassment on her face wasn't. That was when Caleb finally understood what had been bothering him. Vanessa did not seem ashamed of talking to him. She seemed ashamed of being seen wanting to. During those same days, Caleb began noticing Maya Ellison for an entirely different reason. Maya worked in payroll operations, far from executive leadership, and nothing about their first interaction seemed important. When Caleb moved files away from spilled coffee near her workstation, she thanked him and helped move a chair rather than standing over him while he cleaned. Later, he watched another employee grow impatient with a cafeteria worker over a minor mistake. Maya quietly told the worker not to worry about it and continued with her day. Maya's manner simply did not change according to the title of the person standing in front of her. Meanwhile, Caleb's conversations with Vanessa became more personal. He told her truthful fragments about himself without revealing the structure around them. He admitted that success had complicated some of his relationships and that he wanted to know what it felt like to trust someone without wondering what they expected from him. Vanessa told him ambition mattered because she had spent years fighting to be taken seriously. She wanted influence, responsibility, and the kind of career nobody could dismiss. Caleb understood that hunger. But the contradiction remained. Vanessa could be warm when nobody important was watching and distant the moment her image felt threatened. Caleb should have ended the experiment there. Instead, because his feelings had become real, he wanted one final answer. He decided to ask Vanessa to dinner. He intended to do it privately, but several employees were nearby. Caleb quietly told Vanessa that he enjoyed talking to her and asked whether she would have dinner with him. Someone overheard. A smile appeared across a nearby table. Then came the teasing. Vanessa looked around and saw co-workers watching. Something in her changed. The woman who had shared private conversations with Caleb suddenly seemed desperate to destroy the possibility that anyone might believe she wanted him. That was when she told him friendliness was not attraction. She asked him to look at her and then at himself. Then she called him a disgusting loser. The object Caleb removed from his pocket was the executive access card he had carried throughout the disguise. He could place it on the table. He could summon senior leadership. He could watch every expression in the cafeteria change. Instead, Caleb put the card away. If he revealed himself while angry, the truth would become a weapon. "Thank you, Vanessa," he said. She had finally answered him. Then Maya found him. She handed him the cup of water and sat beside him until the noise from the cafeteria felt far away. Eventually Caleb asked, "Why did you follow me?" Because everyone else was laughing, staring, or pretending they didn't see what happened. He studied her. "Aren't you embarrassed to be sitting here with me?" Maya frowned. "Why would I be?" Maya didn't know she had passed any test. Caleb had never intended to test her. That should have been the moment he ended the disguise. Instead, he made his second mistake. Over the following weeks, Caleb and Maya began taking lunch breaks together. She talked about wanting a stable career, building savings, and eventually moving into work with greater responsibility. Maya never pretended money was meaningless. What she rejected was the idea that income determined human value. Caleb invited her to a modest neighborhood restaurant. Maya accepted. Their first dinner became another. No luxury car collected them. Caleb bought no expensive gifts. Maya believed he lived carefully on a janitor's wages, and nothing about that belief made her less interested. Caleb had found the answer he thought he wanted. Instead of feeling relieved, he felt ashamed. Maya was giving him truthful pieces of her life while he controlled which pieces of his she was allowed to see. He almost confessed after their second dinner, but fear stopped him. What if she changed the moment she learned who he was? The disguise that had begun as a short experiment had become a lie inside a relationship. Caleb also began seeing the cost of his secrecy in smaller moments. Maya would ask questions about where he lived, how long he had worked maintenance, or what he hoped to do next, and he would answer around the truth. None of the lies were dramatic, but each one made the honest conversation harder. The more Maya trusted him, the less defensible the disguise became. By then, Caleb was no longer protecting himself from a stranger. He was withholding the truth from someone who had shown him the kind of character he claimed to be searching for. Vanessa noticed the relationship before she discovered anything else. She asked Maya privately whether she was seriously getting involved with Caleb. Maya said they were getting to know each other. Vanessa looked genuinely baffled. She told Maya she was too intelligent to settle for someone with no future beyond cleaning offices. Maya's answer was calm. A job tells me how someone earns a paycheck. It doesn't tell me whether he's worth knowing. For perhaps the first time, Vanessa had no immediate response. But another question had begun bothering her. Earlier that week, she had seen a senior executive approach Caleb in a corridor. For a moment, the executive's manner toward him seemed strangely deferential. Then the executive noticed Vanessa and abruptly changed tone. Days later, Vanessa saw Caleb use an elevator access point maintenance workers normally couldn't enter. She began watching him more carefully. Senior leaders were accustomed to bringing urgent decisions directly to Caleb, and every unexpected encounter required them to remember a role they had never been trained to play. Caleb knew he was running out of time. He asked Maya to meet privately after work and decided that whatever happened afterward, he would tell her everything. He never got the chance to begin. One of the two senior people who knew about the arrangement appeared with an urgent operational problem. Distracted by the issue, the executive forgot the role Caleb was supposed to be playing. "We need your approval before this moves forward." Maya looked at the executive. Then at Caleb. Approval? The disguise ended in the silence that followed. Caleb dismissed the executive and turned toward her. He told Maya he wasn't a janitor. Then he told her the part that mattered more. He had deliberately allowed her to believe he was. Maya listened while Caleb explained who he was, why the disguise had begun, and what Vanessa had originally represented. So Vanessa was a test. Caleb admitted she had been. And me? No. Maya shook her head. Maybe not at first. That distinction struck harder than Caleb expected. He tried to explain that his feelings for Maya were genuine. "My feelings being real doesn't make what you did fair," she told him. Maya had trusted him with her actual life, her goals, worries, finances and plans, while Caleb had offered a carefully controlled version of his own. He had spent years afraid that women would manipulate him because of his wealth. Without intending to, he had manipulated Maya because of that same fear. Maya left without asking how much money he had. The number had never mattered to her. The dishonesty did. For once, Caleb did not chase after someone and try to manage the outcome. He sent no gifts. He used no influence to force another conversation. He let Maya leave. For the first time, he understood that the answer to distrust was accepting the risk of being known. His temporary role was ending anyway. Voss Meridian had a scheduled leadership gathering involving managers and employees, and Caleb would attend as himself. Vanessa, meanwhile, had pieced together enough contradictions to know the man with the cleaning cart was not who he claimed to be. She simply had no idea how wrong she had been. When Caleb entered the gathering without the maintenance uniform, Vanessa stared. He wore a simple tailored suit, but the clothes were not what changed the room. Senior leaders approached him first. People who had barely acknowledged him days earlier suddenly stood straighter. Then one executive referred to him openly as Voss Meridian's founder and majority owner. Recognition moved through the room. Vanessa's face lost its color. Several employees from the cafeteria avoided Caleb's eyes. The man they had watched being mocked for cleaning floors owned the company whose name appeared on their paychecks. The reaction disturbed him. Nothing about his character had changed. Only their knowledge of his status had. Vanessa requested a private conversation. She apologized without pretending the cafeteria scene had been a misunderstanding. Then she admitted something Caleb had not expected. She really had liked him. That was why the teasing had frightened her. Vanessa had spent years fighting for promotions and trying to enter professional circles where she believed perception mattered almost as much as performance. When co-workers suggested she was attracted to a janitor, she panicked. She wanted to destroy the idea before it damaged the image she had built. "I know how ugly that sounds," she said. Caleb believed her. Vanessa had not rejected him because she felt nothing. She had rejected him because liking the person she thought he was threatened the status she valued more than her feelings. Vanessa expected Caleb to fire her. He refused. "You had every right to reject me," he told her. "You didn't have the right to humiliate an employee because you thought his job made him less than you." Caleb also refused to decide her professional consequences himself. If he used ownership of the company to punish Vanessa personally for hurting him, he would be abusing the same difference in power that had exposed her behavior in the first place. Human Resources interviewed witnesses and reviewed Vanessa's broader professional record. Her years of strong performance mattered. So did the cafeteria humiliation. Vanessa kept her job. But she lost consideration for an upcoming leadership promotion and received formal corrective action requiring demonstrated improvement in workplace conduct. Employees who had joined the laughter were addressed through the company's normal disciplinary process. For Vanessa, losing the promotion carried an uncomfortable precision. She had spent years proving she deserved greater authority. Now the thing preventing her from receiving it was not Caleb's revenge. It was evidence that she was not yet ready to lead people whose titles she considered beneath her. But Caleb had another problem no company process could solve. He could not order Maya to trust him again. Weeks passed before he asked her for another conversation. Caleb arrived without gifts, without a driver waiting outside and without a speech designed to win her back. This time, he apologized before explaining anything. He told Maya his fear had been genuine, but fear had never entitled him to test people without their consent. Vanessa's humiliation had answered the question he thought mattered. Maya's anger had answered the one that actually did. Someone could care about Caleb without wanting his money. But no healthy relationship could survive if he kept hiding behind tests. Maya listened. She did not immediately forgive him. Understanding why someone lied isn't the same as trusting them afterward. Maya told him that if they ever tried again, there would be no disguises, no secret evaluations and no deciding for her which truth she was ready to hear. There was another condition neither of them could ignore. Caleb owned the company where Maya worked. Before they resumed anything romantic, the relationship was formally disclosed through the appropriate internal process. Maya's reporting line, performance reviews and future promotion decisions remained under managers who did not report to Caleb on her personnel matters. She also made it clear that she wanted no promotion, raise or advantage tied to their relationship. Caleb agreed. But he understood that saying the right words was the easiest part. Trust would have to return through what he did afterward. Their relationship resumed slowly. There were awkward conversations, and Maya asked questions Caleb once would have avoided. This time, he answered them. Nothing about rebuilding trust felt as dramatic as disguising himself or revealing a billionaire in a room full of stunned employees. That was precisely why Caleb began to understand it. Real trust was not built through dramatic tests. It was built through ordinary honesty repeated long enough to become dependable. Months later, Caleb happened to see Vanessa speaking with a maintenance employee who needed access to a work area. She thanked him normally and continued on her way. Caleb did not know whether embarrassment, consequence or genuine reflection had changed something in her. Character was not proven by one impressive moment or repaired by one polite conversation. Vanessa's future would be determined by what she chose repeatedly when nobody important was watching. One evening, months after Maya had found Caleb alone in that hallway, they were talking when she suddenly remembered the cup of water. She laughed. That was probably the cheapest thing anyone has ever given you. Caleb smiled, but the memory affected him differently now. He thought about the relationships that had taught him to question affection. He thought about Vanessa, who had liked him privately but rejected the person she believed he was when other people were watching. He thought about the disguise he had created because he believed becoming powerless in someone's eyes would protect him from being used. And then he remembered Maya sitting beside a humiliated janitor when there was nothing to gain from being seen with him. The water might have been the first gift in years I never had to question, Caleb told her. Caleb had gone undercover because he believed becoming poor in someone else's eyes would reveal whether that person could truly care about him. Instead, the disguise revealed something about Caleb himself. Money had made him afraid of being used. Fear had made him afraid of being known. And hiding from one danger had nearly cost him the relationship he had been trying to find. Vanessa taught him that status could expose character. Maya taught him something more difficult. Love could not be proven by removing every possible reason for doubt. At some point, trust required telling the truth and allowing another person the freedom to decide what to do with it. Caleb had spent years looking for a woman who would choose him without the billionaire. In the end, the right woman never needed him to become poor. She needed him to become honest. Do you believe Caleb made the right decision, or would you have handled it differently? Tell us in the comments. Subscribe to Luxury Justice Stories for more powerful stories of betrayal, courage, and unforgettable justice.